Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a very special episode of Uncanny Treks. I'm Bob in Cascadia. That's Matt in the Southland. We are concluding our coverage of the Paul Dini, Peter Calloway, Gotham City Sirens series. We are concluding in that way our trek through the Paul Dini universe of Batman. And it's been a really interesting ride. This is the last trade of Gotham City Sirens. This is issues 20 through 26, Matt.
Yes, I believe so. Of course, you're asking the wrong person.
Very tested. Very frustrating. This was originally collected in a trade paperback as Volume 4 of Gotham City Sirens entitled Division. And Matt, just partly to save time, partially for economy, I like to divide this one like I divided Gotham City Sirens Volume 3 into three two-part arcs. Did that make sense to you this week, or like last week, were you pretty cranky about that?
Bob, this slow descent you've made into becoming Two-Face is a bit ridiculous.
Well, Matt, let us go into our first two-parter, our first bifurcation. That's issues number 20 and 21, Hell Hath No Fury, parts 1 and 2. Matt, what goes down in issues 20 and 21?
Well, Bob, Harley Quinn is on a mission to reach the Joker in Arkham Asylum, and we don't know, is she going to kill him?
And so the Arkham supporting cast is a really big deal in these two-parters, relatively speaking. We have Aaron Cash, who's like the head security guard of Arkham, and he was a major character in Arkham Asylum Living Hell. Am I remembering that right?
Aaron Cash has been in, isn't he the one with the hook hand?
He is the one with the hook hand.
That dude's been in everything. He's been in the games. He's been in some of them animation. Oh, yeah, he's a main guard at Arkham Asylum. He's reached that level.
Oh, that's interesting.
He's on the same level as Montoya and Bullock at this point. Which is why you bring it out Arkham Asylum Living Hell, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen this guy a million times, Bob. He's in the games.
That's where he debuted, and then he's in other comics, but I don't feel like you see him that often in the other comics.
He's everywhere.
And I would just say he's not really at the same level of Montoya because he doesn't have a secret identity.
I wasn't even going, okay, Bob, I meant Renee Montoya in 1994, not Renee Montoya, which is the question.
Another Arkham supporting character we get here is director Alice Sinner, who I was wondering if you'd ever heard of her. She was totally new to me. I guess she's from David Hine, had an Arkham Reborn miniseries around this time that I think continued into a Detective Comics run, which I was always vaguely curious about but never read. I guess she's from...
Yeah, she has this thing with Jeremiah Arkham who has become Black Mask somehow.
Yeah, that happens, I think. I knew that happened, but it happens at some point over the course of Arkham Reborn.
Right, yeah. Apparently she was a child in a cult, and then when they gave him the poison to drink, she didn't drink the poison, she threw it out. So she was the only survivor. Then she wears these red ribbons in her hair for the 7 sins, and she takes one out whenever she does the sin or something. It's some weird motif. She's not around anymore because she seems, you can already tell she seems kind of lame.
I think 52 did not have much use for her. I'm not sure if she's appeared at all.
No, she hasn't, I don't believe. She's gone. We can add her to the list of rando. So, Bob, when you were reading this issue, did you call that Harley would give in to Jay in the second part?
I thought it was very likely she would. I think we had a little bit of a conversation about this last issue. I was thinking we were getting pretty close to fully independent Harley at this point in time, but I wasn't sure if this series could fully take us there or not. So I thought it was probably likely that she would capitulate to Mr. J, but I wasn't totally sure.
Well, Bob, my favorite panel, there are these like flashback stories explaining the gimmicks inside Harley's bag and how she's going to get in the asylum using the gimmicks in her bag. And one of those flashbacks was drawn on a crowbar. And each panel it's so neat. Words can't describe it. You have to see it. It's a crowbar, and each panel is part of the crowbar, and it tells the story of how Harley's going to use whatever the item is to get into the asylum. But I think you had one as
innovative storytelling, and they did something similar with a nail on page 501, where it's a 2-page splash where the panels are just all fit in a nail shape. I thought that was great.
It was really cool. And I mean, there's something about these. Is it the same artist throughout the whole thing? Am I correct on that, saying that throughout the entire?
I believe most of these issues are Andres Guinaldo, who did most but not all of the issues in the last trade, and he took over from Gwilla Marsh, who did most of the first two.
So I don't know the artistic word for it, but I'm just going to call it a silhouette. It's a silhouette of a crowbar with the panels. But later on, you see the same imagery, which is also some of my other favorite panels, where you see silhouettes of different people's heads, and then the action of panels contained within their heads.
Well, Matt, from very cool art choices and storytelling choices to issue number 22, tie into an Azrael crossover that I guess was also not running through an Azrael book at the time because there wasn't one, but was running through Batman and Red Robin as well. Ooh, Red Robin. Don't you just want to read
Oh,
Red
oh
Robin?
my God, Bob. The less said about this, the better. This issue was the most fill-in crossover of any issue I have ever read in my history of reading comics. This is the story. Catwoman's on her way to Arkham and runs into a whole unrelated plot with Azrael and some other cult-looking people, which she finishes up before the end of the issue. Like, and then you move on.
Issues 23 and 24, Friends Parts 1 and 2. What goes down in those?
Well, she actually makes it to Arkham Asylum. So you have Poison Ivy, Catwoman, and Batman attempt to thwart Harley's plans to release the Joker, and then Catwoman's loyalty does come into question at the end.
Catwoman's loyalty, man. You can't trust a cat. They're always betraying. We already talked about Jeremiah Arkham becoming Black Mask and that becoming a motif here. I would just flag as my favorite art would be in the second issue here in 24, and it's on page 561, and we have a splash page where Ivy has the Joker pinned against the wall with vines and actually making Harley shoot.
That was cool.
But we also have Harley somewhat in reply to that, asking on 564, does anyone ever change? It's just like, ouch, Harley. You don't have to use your psychology degree like that. That's evil. That's evil.
Yeah. What about that fake out whisper, Bob? Did you like that?
Yeah, they teased it as a kiss, but it was actually just a whisper on the next page on 565 between Harley and Ivy. That was very sweet.
Is this when the whole Harley Ivy stuff starts? They're possibly, are they, aren't they type thing?
No, I think that's been going since the 90s, since the animated. I think the fans.
So that's been a thing forever. Yeah, okay. Since it's her
I mean, I think
creation.
this is getting it more intensely on the page.
Okay.
Maybe not than it had ever been, but certainly normally it's just the characters are around and pals and people see a lot of subtext. Here, they're doing it so heavy, it's a bit more than subtext. But yeah, no, it's not a new idea.
Well, Bob, I'm going to change up my favorite panel here, and I'm going to go with, there is a panel on the last page that has Harley and Joker. They're in these matching Hannibal Lecter muzzles. It's actually kind of cute.
Two freaks who are on the same frequency.
The next two issues, the way you formatted this,
which I still think is the right way to format.
Part 3 and Part 4 here, a friend.
What goes down in the second part of this 4-part story.
Well, Bob, Ivy and Harley escape the asylum, and they hunt down Catwoman, who they feel has turned on them.
Yeah, and continuing Guinaldo's penchant for really fun panel placement and panel arrangement, we have a cross section, which also Matt in our other episode, Matt loves a cross section. I found out today.
Cross sections are cool.
We have a cross section of the Arkham Asylum inmates on the splash page for Friends Part 3.
I did actually stop and stare at that for a while and just try to see each cell. Oh, what's going on there? What's going on there?
It's really nice. I enjoyed it quite a lot. And I would say maybe this is obvious, maybe because there's a lot of Harley Ivy stuff I haven't read, and maybe this is well-trod territory. But on like page 593 in these issues, we get the idea that Ivy's friendship with or romantic love for Harley represents her human side as opposed to her natural side. I thought that was interesting. I never thought.
Yeah, that is a good way to show that divide there between her plant monster creature self, whatever she is, in that end, and then she is a human being who cares about some of these people, I guess, to some degree.
One person.
Or one person, yeah, one being Ivy.
Had you ever seen Ivy interact with Penguin before? We get that on 596. Definitely I've seen Harley interact with Penguin a lot, but seeing Ivy and Penguin together was somewhat
The only time I can even remotely think of they would be on the same page would have been Dark Victory.
Oh, yeah, but they're probably just standing in splash pages.
Correct. Other than never really interacting or talking to each other, no.
Yeah, it just brings into mind like Danny DeVito perving on Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman. In 602, this is in Friends Part 4, we get some really cool interplay here with Ivy's vines versus Catwoman's whip versus Harley's hammer. There's a lot of interesting use of them to frame panels within the panels and those panels as well. I really liked it.
It's a creative way to frame an action sequence.
For sure. Matt, we get a callback to Bone Blaster from the Gotham City Sirens. Were you excited about that?
Yeah, I was excited. We got Bone Blasters back. Didn't think we'd ever see him again.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's so much better than Skell.
Bone Blaster's the one Catwoman.
The very first pages of the first.
Yeah.
Page. On page 611, we get a big revelation that Dick, as Batman, manipulated Catwoman into manipulating Harley and Ivy into being heroes. Did you find this revelation cool or contrived?
Very contrived.
You found it contrived. And so did you think this was Calloway, the writer, trying to realize Denny's original vision for the book? Or was it just Calloway's, okay, I've got to end it. I've got to give it a sense of unity.
It felt like the end of Gotham Knights.
It does feel a lot like it, but I think it's a lot better done.
It is to some degree, Bob, but it still feels they're just wrapping up, especially when you had my favorite panel actually in this issue fits in with this. And it's that you have Poison Ivy out there. She's trying to get Batman's attention because she's mad. And this is just how we're going to end this with all the characters together in the same place and how we can have them all run off away and that be the end of it. It's got that ending. It just, I don't know. I like the panel. I like the idea, but it does just feel okay. We're just going to leave this open ended so you can figure out what to do with it.
And Calloway was proved right about this, that he knew with the direction that the New 52 was going, that this book wasn't going to resume anytime soon.
Right.
And he also, I can't remember where Ivy gets left in the early New 52, but there's the infamous New 52 Catwoman series. Then we know that Harley, I think she's immediately in New 52 Suicide Squad #1.
She is,
relationship with Deadshot. And I don't know what Ivy's deal is in the early days of the New 52, but there's a feeling that this group is splintering apart. And listeners, my plan is for us to talk about the new Gotham City Sirens comics, but that's 15 years after this.
Right.
In that way, he is dealing with, on the one hand, this book is absurd, right? 3 characters who don't have a lot of reason to be together. And I thought it was a pretty clever and meta way to bring those 3 contradictory protagonists together, then to also acknowledge of why they're splitting up and they're not going to get back together for a long time.
It makes sense, but it does feel you're just left, okay, to be continued one day. Maybe like
is that you're absolutely right.
The contrived way they get there reminds me of Gotham Knights.
But I think he's at least like thinking about these characters and how you tell their stories in a larger universe. Whereas I literally think A.J. Lieberman just ran out of space.
Right.
Well, Matt, to maybe end on a more positive note, and we already talked about this a little, man, Guinaldo's art really kind of leveled up this week from his fill-ins in Volume 2 and what he was in Volume 3. It's almost, Gwilym Marsh, who started the book, I think is still my preferred artist, but Guinaldo's is about at his level by the end of this book.
It's phenomenal. The art is excellent. It's some of the best art we've seen in the series.
Yeah. Well, any thoughts now that we've reached the end of our 4-episode coverage of the original Gotham City Sirens?
It's an interesting take to put, 3 female protagonists who are usually seen as villains, put them together, make them do cool stuff. This makes me want to go back and watch the Harley Quinn show. That's the first thing I'll say.
That's an interesting observation. Yeah.
It makes me like, hey, maybe I could give that a chance now that I've read this and can see that it can be done in a way that's it's successful. I will say that I enjoyed the Dini parts more so than I have the fill-ins.
I would agree on a certain level, although I don't think it's fair to call Calloway a fill-in. I think it's a successor. The Calloway as a sequel run or successor run is far more interesting than I expected. It's not amazing. I'm not going out and recommending it to people. But when I figured out that Dini left the book, I was maybe we should just stop covering the book. And I'm glad we didn't stop covering.
We set our expectations low knowing that Dini was coming off of it. And we were surprised when it wasn't as bad as we thought it would be. But it's still not as strong as Dini's stuff.
Yeah, I can grant that. Although I would also say, I think the Calloway stuff on Gotham City Sirens is much weaker than Dini's run on Detective Comics and Gotham City and Streets of Gotham. I do think Dini's own work on Gotham City Sirens is a bit weaker than his work on Detective Comics and
I agree with
Gotham.
that for sure.
So I don't think Calloway's Gotham City Sirens run is as far away from Dini's as you might, if that decision.
I can agree with that, Bob, for sure, because I do feel like Dini's work here, just like you said, it is weaker compared to his work in his previous runs with Gotham, Streets of Gotham.
Yeah. Well, Matt, are you comfortable ranking Calloway and Guinaldo's run and Dini's and March's run as like one big run instead of 2 separate runs? Because there's enough continuation, and especially the way that Calloway keeps coming back to things Dini set up or suggested. It makes sense to just think of it as one run.
I agree with that, because they took a lot of what Dini was going with and ran with it. So, yeah, we could say it as one run. So we want to rank it?
Yeah, and I would say, on the one hand, obviously, I think this is better than Hush. I think everything is better than Hush. Yeah. But granting the other things that are on the list, I would lean to putting it below Dr. Midnight, but above Superman and the FF.
That is actually, I think that's the perfect place for it. because you split it above Dr. Midnight or below? What'd you say?
Below Doc. I would say below, but I know you're not a big Doc.
I'm
I
not
know
a huge fan.
It makes sense to me that you would prefer Ridley's Black Panther to the
There it
Gotham
is.
City Sirens. But I was wondering, do you prefer Gotham City Sirens, these 4 trades, or do you prefer the Matt Wagner, John Snyder, Dr. Midnight we covered a couple months ago?
I would put it as the new number 15. I put it above Dr. Midnight, even though I was not a huge fan of the Dr. Midnight stuff.
You want to flip a coin on that?
Yeah, we flip a coin. Heads, we go with you. Tails, we go with me.
Do it.
All right, here we go. Flipping a coin.
Riveting radio.
Riveting radio. I win.
Ooh. All right. So we're slotting in Gotham City Sirens at number 15
Yep.
on our list, above Dr. Midnight and below John Ridley, Black Panther. It's been an interesting journey with this on you, Matt. We might take a week or 2 off, but I do want us to go ahead and do the other 2 new Gotham City Sirens while we're fresh. Looking forward to doing that. Listeners, thank you for going on this extensive journey with us. We went from Hush to Gotham Knights to Hush Returns to Paul Dini's Detective Comics run to Paul Dini's Streets of Gotham run to Gotham City Sirens to Peter Calloway's Gotham City Sirens. And listeners, we did all of that before they finished Hush 2.
That's true. And all of what we read was way better than Hush 2.
All of what we read was way better than Hush 2, which is definitely right now. Listeners, we'll give you a sneak preview for when Hush 2 ends. Right now, I'm saying Hush 2 goes at the bottom below the AJ Lieberman Gotham Knights run. I think it's much worse than the AJ.
Based on what I've read so far, Bob, yes, unless there's some amazing thing that's going to happen when the next issue is released in 2027 or whatever. We'll know for sure.
All right. The listeners, catch us for more Gotham City Sirens soon. Catch us for John Hickman's Avengers run. We'll have some more Batman coverage besides Hush 2. I'm sure this has been Uncanny Treks. I'm Bob in Cascadia. That's Matt in the Southland. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks for listening.